want a Chippy Tea. Chippy Tea, Chippy Tea. I want a Chippy Tea. Oh, you keep giving me posh nosh, you don't agree with me. I don't want lobster thermidor with raspberry Kool-Aid. It's Friday night, I'm within me rights. I want a Chippy Tea.
It must be close or over a year to the day that we did our first episode.
No, because we've done an episode, we've only missed one, so it was 38 weeks ago. So we've still got another 14 weeks.
Will we?
Well, so it must have been mid-May.
All right, couple more to go then.
Yeah, 14. Is that ready?
Ready? Yeah, sorry.
Did we confirm it with 37?
No, we'll just take your word for it. Here it is. It is.
Right, here we go. Welcome to episode 37 of the Chippy Tea podcast. What is the Chippy Tea podcast? It's your chance to catch up with two guys from up north who have a weekly video call to see exactly what this week entailed. What we got up to, what fell apart, what went fantastic, what made us want to go run outside and just cheer, and what made us want to sit in the corner and cry. So it is your chance to catch up with me, Tony P from Palm Print, and
Danny D from Flipping Sweet Print Co.
There we go. Everything's good with the world now. And we sort of like, we have a bit of a chat on exactly what's happened this week. We can't guarantee it's screen print related, but it's loosely based around that topic. So we will throw this week straight out to Danny D. What have you been up to this week, Daniel?
Well,
what's been floating your boat this week?
I can sort of summarise this week with 3 words.
Are they all swear words?
No. Hoodies, triblends, and kids' t-shirts. 3 awkward garments. Stacks of them. Some of them are still there. I don't know if you can see that in the background. Maybe some of them. I've just been playing with awkward garments all week, really, and you know what hoodies are like? Hoodies is like triple the time of t-shirts. Triblends come with migration issues. I mean, kids' t-shirts means you have to get the small bloody pallets out.
Small boards. So you have got some small boards for your little press?
I have, yeah.
Or are you one of those that don't change all 4, just changes 1?
Oh, no, to be fair, I just changed 1.
Did you?
Well, so what it was so the kids' t-shirts, for example, was, I've actually got one. Should I do a show and tell? It's not very interesting.
Absolutely do a show and tell.
I'll do a show and tell. It's not very interesting. But...
Don't care.
Right, so there we go. Simple chest badge.
All right, yeah, nice.
Childs and...
Nice. I love little simple designs like that. For me, they work. It's not all about the complicated ones with underbases and tonal edges. Those sort of prints work really well for me.
They look good. They look effective. But as it is a screen printing podcast, I feel like if I am going to show off, it has to be at least somewhat technically impressive. Nobody's impressed by that.
We're not showing off.
No, you know what I mean. But yeah, that
was your kids' one.
That was my kids' top. The trickiness, or the awkwardness, should I say, was more the fact that the order started off with adult unisex shirts, and then towards the end I had to switch palettes and stick a youth palette on to finish the last 20 shirts, which were all kids' shirts.
You changed the artwork?
I didn't change the artwork, but I had to reposition it. I had to re-register it. So like the chest badge would have been on sleeve if I'd left it where it was. So not something I'd normally do, to be honest. Typically I'd sort of say we'll have to do that as its own order. So the kids have to be its own order. Yeah. And I just it must have caught me on a good day. I just let it slide, and I just
being charitable.
Must have been. So yeah.
It happens sometimes. What were the triblend you were doing?
Triblend was for a CrossFit gym. It was Bella Canvas. CV03 or something.
I've been away from using branded T-shirts on a daily basis for so long now that I got asked this question this week. What's the nicest shirt to print on? And I always say Stanley Stella. But if you can't get Stanley Stella, what would the next one be?
AS colour, for me. I think it's a little bit personal. I think it's a little bit up to taste, I think. Because I think you'll get a different answer from other printers. For me, personally, I really like AS colour. I like Stanley Stella. But I also think Continental clothing, Stanley Stella, there's not an awful lot of difference. In terms of quality. In terms of price, there's a big difference on some garments.
Okay. Continental,
yeah. So that's your organic range, basically. I mean, if we ever do anything organic, it's going on Continental or Stanley Stella. There are other options, but those seem to be the two popular ones.
So if somebody wanted a Gildan and they wanted a better finish than a Gildan,
yeah,
but they don't want to pay for a Stanley Stella or an AS colour, what's in the middle?
To be honest, though, nowadays, since the prices of Gildans have gone up, it's not a huge jump to go from a Gildan to a AS colour or a Earth Positive Continental clothing. We're talking £1 at absolute most, and that's probably a bit much. So I think back in the day when I was doing a lot of one-off shirts on eBay, it was always Gildans, and they were like £2. £2 tops, even for colours.
180 to £2 they used to be, yeah. But
they've sort of got a lot closer to each other. So like Continental, so it was always Gildans, and then if I was feeling like super flush, I'd chuck some on a Continental shirt. But there was a price gap. It's got much closer these days. Not Stanley Stella though. That is still over here.
Yeah, it's still in the £3. Every time I move on this leather chair, it sounds like I'm choking. So you've got to bear with me. I've decided to sit on a leather chair. Awesome.
Sorry, nice and comfy, nice and relaxed. I mean, we'll have a good episode.
Yeah, I'm definitely relaxed. It sounds like I've got leather chaps on, right? But all right. So I've got coming up. I've got some of the exhibition stuff to do, and I'm looking for a T-shirt to print on that would give me a good, smooth result. But because in essential, it's a giveaway shirt. I
don't want to be too pricey
on it. No. So I have been out of the game. I print, but I don't get to pick or see that many different brands anymore as I used to.
No, I used to get salesmen knocking on my door all the bloody time, and since I moved here, I've been hard to get older, so it sort of died off. I think salesmen typically know not to just turn up because I probably won't open my door.
They don't like steps. Yeah, that's what it is. They don't like steps.
Yeah, I don't like climbing up them stairs, and so I probably don't see as much as I used to do because they would always bring me in and show me it. But to me, that's just eating into my time. If I want to find, if I want your garment, I will find it.
Yeah.
But I would say, chuck away your Gildans. You're not far off going for Continental or AS Colour. And then there's other brands like Next Level. See, Bella Canvas is a strange one for me. I don't want to slag Bella Canvas off, but I really fucking hate them. They're awful. I
don't want to slag them off, but
that is a very unpopular opinion. A lot of printers swear by them. They think, and they very much like the feel and the quality and the way they sit on them.
Yeah.
But as a print, I don't like them.
What surface? Fluffy surface.
The material, the build. Oh god, let's just say I don't like them. I don't want to go into too much detail because then it does start becoming a slagging off. But IMO, in my opinion, I'm just personally not a big fan of them.
Everybody's got favourites.
Yeah.
I've got favourite inks, we've got favourite screens, we've got favourite squeegees,
Got favourite grannies. Yeah. He's on sale up, favourite podcast. I got a favourite grannies, he got a podcast.
Can't resist it.
Oh, dear. Yeah, so this show that you're talking about, Vespa?
Stuttgart first.
Stuttgart, so which is that one then?
Stuttgart, it's in Germany, but it's TV Textiles, or TVP, or Textile Vision, I can't remember what it's called. But
And is that close to Vespa? Will you be there in the same trip, or you'll be back and back?
It's the end of this month.
What are we on now, then?
March, so it's about 2.5 weeks' time. I think it's 30th, 31st, and 1st.
You could do with filling a whole month of work at Germany, and then you'd have to come back.
yeah. It wasn't that expensive to fly there and back this time. So, and where I'm going, the only problem with where I'm going is there's no flights from like Manchester on Leeds Bradford Road, so you've got to go all the way down to London, which is a bit shitty.
Oh, really? Will that be the same for Vespa?
Only because I don't want to do a double.
I
don't want to do a connection. I want to do a straight there.
I need your help.
Finding some flights.
Yeah, Vespa.
We'll get it sorted, don't you worry.
Still don't have a ticket.
It's May.
Yeah,
Is it
2
May?
months. Yeah. It's like end of May or something, or middle of May.
Right,
Not 2 months or something, innit?
I've got a small conflict. I've got to be. I've got concert tickets the day before.
Right, well, I'm going. Yeah, I can see. You know when you're going about me, I have fear in my eyes. I can see the fear in your eyes. You don't want to tell me what it is. Michael Bublé, innit? Fucking Michael Bublé. I knew it.
Don't be knocking the Bublé. No, it's Pink. She's over in Bolton. So I had tickets to go see that, and I've got to go, really. But trying to balance going there and then being in Germany next day, yeah, it's going to be a tough one.
So Vespa's like a 3-day thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's either 3 or 4.
All right. So you might miss first day.
I can't if I'm working stand.
I'm going to say if you're working.
I'm not going. I'm going to work it. I'm not visiting. So anyway, that's one to be solved later on.
It's a problem for later, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a problem it's a later problem. Yeah.
Where are you then, Tony?
Right now, I am in a little village called Fennycompton.
Fennycompton. Somebody's making that up. They've switched out outside just to wind you up.
Not far from Banbury, which is close to Oxford.
Banbury. So I feel like I know a print shop in Banbury, but I can't put my finger on who it is.
No, I don't think you do. This is one of them shops that say.
Is there a Formula 1 team in Banbury?
Yes, they're all around here.
I know there was something.
Yeah.
I didn't know there were.
Yeah, they're all around here. Yes, I think is it Red Bull?
Oh, you might be right, actually.
No, they're Milton Keynes, aren't they?
I don't know. I was going to say Renault, but it's not Renault nowadays, is it? What do they call them? Alpine. Anyway, whatever.
Alpine or something, yeah.
Yeah. I'll still call them Renault.
Yeah. F1 teams in Banbury, let's have a look. Marussia or Manor.
They were Yorkshire team, then, originally.
Team
Enstone. In Banbury.
Team Enstone comes from Enstone in Oxfordshire. Haas.
Haas, right. Bloody Haas, don't get me started.
Haas.
Gone for sacking Mick. What it? Anyway.
The machines that Haas make the printing machines, so you can't knock them.
Do they actually? So Haas is a CNC machine.
So if you go to MHM in Austria, and they've got Haas machines lined up.
Wow.
Cutting all the parts and making the parts. The same logo, same everything. It's just...
That's cool.
You can tell everybody you're in a Formula 1 factory if you really want.
I like it. So there was a link.
Yeah.
Saved it.
Managed to pull it back, so I don't know where we were going. It's the sort of shop that doesn't really advertise and doesn't go, B2C, goes to B2B.
All right.
Business to business.
Yeah, all right.
So they work for other agencies or brokers, if you like to call them that.
Yeah.
They like to be called agencies. But they've been going for a while. I came here before I went to America, so early January or Christmas time. I came here for an assessment visit.
Right.
And it's a very, again, we see this problem a lot. This skill dilution, where we lose 20%, we lose 20%, we lose 20%. By the time we're left with nothing, we've got some old-fashioned techniques, proper old-fashioned techniques. Tri-lock with the pins and the carrier sheets.
Carrier sheets, I tell you.
Find a solution, though, Danny. Honestly, I can't find a solution. We'll move away from spending 50 grand. This isn't what I'm going to talk about, but we'll move away from spending 50 grand on a director screen. So it's not an option.
Right.
There's not enough throughput to warrant it.
No, to justify it. All right.
So we're left with finding a solution for pre-reg. There ain't one.
There is. I will not accept it. There is. We just haven't worked it out yet. That's all.
All
it is.
I've got in my head is the unit that you've got in your head.
Yeah.
I want to build that and put it on the wall.
Well, I just so happen to have access to a CNC machine,
Yeah.
and I'm getting some acrylic, and I swear, if I do not solve this problem,
Told you I've got the acrylic. Don't buy it.
Oh yeah. Well, send me an invoice to have it shipped over, because I've got. So not only am I going to cut it, I'm not just going to drill some holes with a drill bit. They're going to interlock with CNC'd shapes, so it'll be accurate. Basically, it'll be like a puzzle. You couldn't possibly put it in. Do you know what I mean? The wrong place.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. My vision is a lot cheaper than that, and it's along the lines of down at Broadside. It's wood butcher.
Yeah, well, my vision was that, but then, as with a lot of things, I get carried away, and plus I've got access to it, so I might as well use it.
Yeah.
And I really, as it's become a bit of a bug that I really want to crack, because I also know nobody has. Nobody really. I would say obviously
with the constant. I keep getting inspiration from the printing tables. Do you see the printing tables?
Yeah.
The big long printing tables where they put the bolt and the hook onto the frame itself.
Yeah, they carry the frames from one to other.
So they've got the frame, and it's got two little bolts, which means it either sits like that. So that's the registration system. Somebody once asked me for a carousel version of that.
Yeah, I feel like I remember this.
The carousel version of that would be unlimited colours.
Yeah, wow. No, actually, I never thought of that, but yeah, I don't see what cause it is, because you can put as many screens as you want on. Yeah. You can only print one. I mean, if you could...
You do only print one at a time.
Yeah. Good for sampling.
So I've seen one, and I got in touch with the guy. I'm like, wow, this is what I've been looking for. Where did you get it from? I made it. Really? You made it? Yeah, I made it. Yeah. What about the red system? Yeah, I made that as well. See, well, I'm not that makey. I can't make stuff like that.
It's going to be done. It's going to be done.
Yeah.
Someone's going to invent it.
This is the sort of dilemma I've got at the minute is they use the carrier sheets. They've got everything set up. It leaves the art department on normal film out of an Epson printer, goes downstairs where somebody mounts the carrier sheets. And they take some time over it, and they're very meticulous over it. It then goes to the shop, it then gets made, goes to the shop floor, and nobody uses the tri-lock. So there's no point doing the carrier sheets if nobody's using the tri-lock. And why does nobody use the tri-lock? Because the carrier sheets aren't accurate enough.
No, they're not. They're not.
No, because it's somebody's perception of whether the cross is on or not.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned it on the show before. You can probably see the pain in my face. I got the Vastex version.
Oh, did you?
I was missold the Vastex version, should I say? I won't drop who it was in it, but Yeah, but anyway, regardless of the actual mechanics of the
Are they way over there, over at Moor?
of the Dales,
Over Dales, that's where they are. Yeah.
we're gonna get sued one day. Yeah, you just go way off at Dales, and then you'll find them somewhere. Anyway, regardless of the, and he also was very. He's not daft, because he put in his email invoice, once opened, no refunds. And I thought, you knew.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So regardless of the mechanics of it, the carrier sheets just did not bloody work. So I could spend ages getting them lined up.
They're just not accurate.
It just moves too easy. Yeah. And then you've got the old glue dots or bits of tape. And it's just too much. Unless you're like super delicate and take about 6 hours a day, put any slight pressure or movement and got hands like super steady, you probably still won't get it right.
So this is my dilemma. Without going to the point where a computer decides the placement of the image, is there any point upgrading anything?
Please elaborate. Elaborate on that question. What are you asking me? Because I'm not quite sure I understand the question.
So because I know the Holy Grail, right? The Holy Grail is what we were doing in Long Beach. 5, 6, 5, 8 and 4 colour jobs, all set up in 3 minutes. That's the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
So I know that system works, but it costs 50 grand.
Yeah.
Somebody will probably argue with me. It's only 42 now, but it's on that reason. So if I haven't got that sort of money, then how do I get that? If setting up is costing me so much time, how do I get that time back without investing all that money? Is there a way? And the short answer is no. I can get them close. I can get them straight and central.
Yeah.
And straight and central is all I can hope for. And then I use the printer's skill on the press to line everything up perfectly. And that's how I used to do it for 12 years.
Well, let's go over the options. So we've got direct to screen and we've got the MHM Magic Trickery. But that's not affordable. So going down a step, you've got like the Trilock, and each press manufacturer has their own version. So M&R's got the Trilock, Anatol's got some sort of jig. There's a Vastex jig. I don't get that one. Unless you got a Vastex, I'm sure it was fine.
And Rock have just brought a jig out now, which is an exact copy of the MHM one.
Yeah. And
but instead of using pins, it actually now uses Trilock.
All right. To be fair, we know a bunch of pretty good printers in this little chat group. And I think, it might have been you who asked a question about the Trilock. Is it good? Or what's your success rate?
We're on Instagram.
It's surprisingly high. Was that on Instagram?
We're on Instagram. It was surprisingly low. No, it wasn't.
Well, I'm thinking of a different.
Yeah, and the people who get success from it have computers placing the image.
That's true. Yeah,
so that's the big. It's the computer placing the image. That's really the only solution to this problem.
Yeah,
it's
maybe so.
Getting the computer to place the image, but doing that cheaply, that's the difficult bit. So then we go back to, do you remember the guys in, God knows where I was, I can't remember where I was, where he had it on the wall?
Yeah, somewhere in the States.
Oh yeah, so that system works in getting straight and central.
Yeah.
And do they use it as a Trilock? Yeah, they used it as like a Trilock as well. But it's getting it straight. No, they didn't use a Trilock. That's the whole point. The girl was fucking fantastic. The girl was ace, and she set it up in no time. But getting it straight and central was easy. She just dropped everything in, and there it was. Off you go. Roberta's your auntie.
We've got to, maybe we have to ask the question. If you're on a manual, are you always? I'm going to say no, because I'm going to blow the industry wide open. I'm going to invent something. But apart from that, when that's ready, there's always going to be a little bit of micro registration. You can get as close as humanly possible because we can only humanly place films on a sheet by eye, and that will. But here's the thing as well: won't that work? Depending on your shop, 90% of the time, because we're talking about how much work comes through your shop if you're on a manual that's super delicate halftones that need to be, 100% accurate. Some of your more graphic work, you've got a little bit of tolerance. It might be only a hairline, but it's enough, isn't it?
It's the twist. If you use a system that puts did you just do a twist then?
I just did the smallest twist ever. I went to Cavern, in Liverpool, and Birdo away were fucking desperate to get me up dancing. I didn't go for it, but Twist and Shout came on. That's why I thought of that. But anyway, sorry,
okay.
The twist in your press. It's a window wiper. That was not a dance. That was just the window wiper action.
That's the best tangent you've gone on in such a long time. I have no idea where it even started. Oh yeah, if you get a twist in your arm, if you get a twist in your two springs, even if it's white flash white, if one of them's twisted, you can spend more time getting rid of that twist blind now because you've got ink and everything than it would have taken you to line them up yourself.
Yeah.
So that only has to happen 2 times out of 10, and you lose absolutely all faith in this fancy pre-reg system that some northern consultant said you should use all the time. So for me, I totally understand that if it makes my life more difficult, I'm not going to use it. Even if it only makes my life more difficult 2 times out of 10, I'm not going to use it. That
is the killer, isn't it, when you think about it? Because let's just say the tri-locks, etc., there's so many extra steps involved in using those systems. And if you get it on press one day and it's like, you need to do an micro edge, well, you might as well just draw a line down middle and just stick your flipping things in centre, because it would have been way quicker to line up. So it's almost over-engineering the problem.
So that's where I am now. Would I be better off telling them to get rid of this carrier sheet with the pins and just go straight in the middle, straight in central? Forget the tri-lock system, because the tri-lock system, I think the tri-lock and the pin system, they work at their absolutes when we have a computer placing the image on the screen. If we don't have a computer who never gets tired, never gets bored, never gets stoned, and if we have a soggy person putting that image on, that's when we start to see these variables. So in effect, we've got 2 people setting up the same screen. And the chance of the perception bias being exactly the same, i.e. them both being the same height, looking from the same angle, and being as accurate as each other, it's just... It used to be acceptable because the press operator had enough skill to fix any fuck-ups.
Yeah.
Well, now...
Diluted.
Well, we're almost losing that skill. And I'm a big pusher of losing that skill because we've now got systems in place that require us not to have that skill.
Yeah. Better to get rid of that variable altogether.
Yeah, but we are losing a little skill there in image placement on a screen.
It would be interesting, actually. That would be an interesting screen print Olympics. Get an auto shop who have been using, direct to screen and
can you go back to setting up,
and then get somebody who registers on a manual, and then see how quick they both do it. Not against each other, but like both registering on a manual.
This shop I'm in got M&Rs and an MHM, and if you remember, this is one of the 3 that hated the MHM.
So it's a very similar story to
2 old M&Rs, and they set them up with a hammer. They know exactly when it jumps and when it doesn't jump. They don't use tri-lock because they're good enough to do it without it. And tap, 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 no problem. Get it all in perfect register. And then I've been trying to get them to use the MHM for like about 4 days. And no, it hasn't got enough pressure. It doesn't hold register. It's too complicated to use. It's too big. The pallets are too long. All these different things. And one by one, I've solved all the problems, which were mainly self-inflicted. But solved all those problems, got a job on there, 3-colour base, white, pink. And yeah, and it's really a dream. But you can see him. It just wants moving left it back a little bit. And don't you get that hammer? Don't you even think about picking that hammer up?
Yeah, convincing him to trust in the system.
Trust the system. If it wants to go left, how much does it want to go? It wants to go about 1/4 mil. Right, well, 1 turn is a millimetre, so I'll move it 1/4 turn. Like you or me?
Probably me. Probably me will touch, wouldn't I? I'm very professional of me, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'll do mine at the same time.
It's just my man wants to know what time I'm
going for tea. Life in the fast lane.
Anyway.
So, luckily, this guy has the skill because he's had to use an M&R for the last 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
So he's got that skill, which means he doesn't take the pallet off, put the tri-lock on, and trust the tri-lock because he knows it's only going to be as good as the guy in the screen room. And the guy in the screen room's crap. So, so there's no way he's going to go to all the trouble of losing time.
Pointless.
Putting the tri-lock on, lining all the screens up, pressing print, and then fighting the misreg.
Yeah.
There's one thing, trying to get rid of a twist that you put in against trying to get rid of a twist that somebody else put in.
Yeah, that's pretty irritating.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
It's your fault, it's not so bad, but...
If I'd have set this up, it wouldn't have had this twist. If I'd have set this up, it wouldn't have had this twist, all the time.
You see, I think one of the differences... So I thought I could solve this problem by... So like the tri-lock, for example, you would place your film either on a carrier sheet or you would sit it on a grid and then you sit the screen on top of the film. So instantly there, you've got room for movement. It could, as soon as you put that screen down, it might shimmy, it might move. You might move it down a bit too fast.
We put it onto a carrier sheet on a light box. So you use a light box to mount it onto a carrier sheet.
Yeah, and then you place the screen on top.
Then you take that to your exposure unit.
That's right. Yeah.
And your exposure unit has the 3 points and another bar, another point to clip your carrier sheets into.
Right. Yeah, you're right. I remember now. Oh, memory's not what it was, but still, in a way, you're still putting it on top of. You're putting the screen down on something that could potentially move. Get a bit of wind under it. Move it a bit quick. So I thought the solution to that was to do it upside down. So you sit the screen over a grid and then stick with.
That is absolutely the solution, and that's what I'm looking at now. Trying to do that. I reckon for less than 500 quid, I could make that and stick it on the wall.
500 quid? I did it for about 100 quid worth of acrylic.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, though. I that system that I use, that you're thinking about, is fantastic, apart from one slight issue, and that is aluminium frames are not all the same size. So, and you have to, I've got some frames in my screen room that won't sit on the top because I've measured it to a frame, not realising some are slightly different. Yeah. Most of my screens fit over the top, fine. So you have to leave a little bit of room, a millimetre, maybe 2 millimetre gap, which means there's jiggle room in the screen. So I guess you could push every screen into one corner, which is what I do, but that's not...
Well, my idea would be to push everything to the outside corner.
Yeah.
So have an L shape of wood that you put the screen into, and then inside the screen, like you're saying, exactly the same, but instead of trying to go to the edge of the frame, come an inch away. That inch that you don't use, that you've just had done all the way around your frames.
So what about, hang on.
So don't use the inside of the frame for the reg, use that outside L.
What about, you got your screen here, top and bottom. So can you picture my coating holder?
Semi-automatic coating machine.
Semi-automatic / semi-manual coating machine holder.
Yeah.
from Vastex, which is all right actually. I'll give them that one. He sold me that, so I'll give him props for that one. But the other thing was shite. But can you imagine? So if you grab a frame, you put so it's like two lips.
Spring.
You push down.
Yeah.
And it's spring loaded. So what if you had clamps either side spring loaded? Push your screen in, it clamps it from either edge, but it always pulls it into the middle. So it's always pulling it into the middle every time. So no matter how big your screen is, it's pulling it back into the middle because it's spring loaded. It can't possibly not. And then you have your grid banging centre of that with like an inch around it. So no matter what, you've got a. You know what I mean?
This exists.
It does.
Yeah.
So
it exists. So instead of an inch away from everything, it's actually just a centre line of about 4 inches with crosses down the centre. That's all we need. And you go, what about left chest? You just put your crosses in the centre and have your film off to the left.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I used to do.
So all you need is that centre line.
Yeah.
So therefore, the centre line, the piece of acrylic with a centre line on, only needs to be 4 inches wide.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It doesn't need to be any more than that.
No.
And you just put your crosses every 25 mil. And
so it exists?
Yeah. It exists as an MHM FPU. It now exists as the ROC RPU. I'm sure there's another one. But it does already exist. The idea of putting the film on top of an illuminated box that sits inside the ink side of the shirt has been around for 20, 30 years.
Oh, well, that's that patent idea gone. So how much is one of them cost them? Does it come part of the system?
It comes part of the system if you buy a press. If
you can't buy that on its own?
Yeah, about $3,000. And it's spring loaded, so it holds the screens in that way.
Yeah, so to me that solves the problem because your line's always going to be at centre no matter, even if your frames are slightly bigger than each other. Yeah.
Problem with the MHM one is it uses cups.
Yeah, and
the bushings on the end.
Yeah.
So therefore, we totally disregard the frame altogether, and we just use these pins, which are 420mm apart, top and bottom, straight and central. So we disregard the frame. But it would still work with the frame.
Yeah.
But you'd have to make sure your frames were all the same size to get your centre line. Because if you have one that's 2 mil bigger, your centre line's off on that screen.
All right. Well, this is... Might have to invent that as well, then, eh? What are you looking for? Me chips to piss on? Speaking of piss.
Somebody mentioned it, didn't they?
Yeah.
Somebody picked up on it.
Yeah, somebody...
Best line ever, they're your chips I've just pissed on.
Somebody thought it really funny. Someone's got to, haven't they?
Ooh, shots fired.
Speaking of piss, I can't believe how long we've been going. 40 minutes. Can I go for a wee?
After 40 minutes?
I know,
did you have a preemptive one?
I actually did, yeah. It might be a record, that.
Go for it.
It won't be long. Only be a sec. So we can conclude. If somebody can crack that,
well, we're halfway there.
People.
We're halfway there. We've got a few sort of suggestions there. The system exists and it has existed for a long time, which works really well with cups. If you look at some of the rock stuff, that the videos that they're releasing at the minute, they've taken that and applied the tri-lock system to it. So that does work. But we're still, when you're using films like that on the film positioning unit, you're still faced with that issue of the squishy thing placing the image.
Yeah.
I guess get you straight and central. Straight and central, this gets you.
Yeah. I guess we have to accept that we're trying to get as close as humanly possible until we get direct to screen.
Yeah.
So that's all we can probably achieve.
Yeah, because my issue with this shop is I could solve the problem tomorrow with an FPU. So
yeah.
Finished. Problem solved. Then they've got an M&R. So I can solve the problem for the MHM easily.
But not the M&R.
But then how do I then transfer that solution over to the M&R?
It sounds like, when you think about it, on first thought, it seems like such a simple thing, but it really not, is it? It's really not.
When you start going deep into it now.
When you really start to analyse it, and Sarah told me a solution that she's come up with, and she's thinking of doing, and she sent it in a voice note, and I thought, yeah, makes sense. It sounds totally logical. Go build it. But there'll be something.
Yeah.
There'll be something.
There's always something waiting to trip you up. Yeah.
Otherwise, somebody had done it by now, wouldn't they?
Basically, yeah.
Don't worry. I'm going to do it.
Well, there is a halfway step. It's called a freestyler, which is a
bit cheaper than.
Which is a horizontal computer screen.
It's kind of like a large format.
Yeah,
that moves.
My only issue with it is the time it takes. The freestyler can take 6 minutes to image a screen. So to me, that's a long time to be sat watching something print. And our mate Alex at SS, he could have pretty much picked it up and hit me around the head with it for saying it really good. So he hated it. But I've got it in a place down at another place down south, and it works for them because they only make about 6 screens a day.
I want to say it depends what your production rate is, really.
Yeah.
I'd probably love it.
You could rent them.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
You can rent them. They're not... Okay. Last time I spoke to... I don't mind, Mark at Exile. Exile do the freestyler. And last time I spoke to Mark, and he had a freestyler, and I'm like, he went, don't pull that face, it's got better. So in all honesty, when I last assessed it, he now says it's got better than when it was. So it's like the Freestyler 2 or Freestyler 3 or whatever it's called. And it has got faster, easier to use. So if that's true, okay, I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
Anything that doesn't break the sort of like 40, 50 grand mark, then all right, I'll probably look at it.
Yeah, well, you got to, don't you? Well, we'll have to see.
I wonder if that might be an option. Freestyler might be an option. That might be an option.
I'm sure I've seen one recently. Someone might have got one recently. I'm not sure what it is. I'll look through my Instagram later and see if I can send you
freestyler. Don't know.
Possibly, yeah.
Got them now.
I feel like I've seen it. Anyway, I'll look later. I'll tell you later. So, I feel like, I don't know if it's like my psychic intuition, but I feel like there's a story to tell about one of your trips to America involving a screen printer who happened to make blue movies in the basement.
Where did that come from?
Psychic. I just sense it.
You didn't even lead into it, gently, did you? You just like, have that, Tony. No, there's only a little bit of truth in that. You didn't make them, but produced them. No,
not the same thing.
No, was involved in the making of them. Well, I think of making as in front of the camera, behind the camera.
All right.
This was. I've got to be careful here. I can't believe you dropped that. This was a visit to a shop, and somebody said to me, "Oh, that's so and so. He used to do blue movies." As in, do blue movies? No, he used to do this and do that and that. Ah, right. So, but don't say anything because it's a big secret. Now all four of our listeners.
Podcast.
All four of our listeners know now. Yeah, so I won't name who it was or which area.
Let's play that game.
No, let's not. So I'm talking to this guy. He's got a good print shop. Everything's going okay. We went out for a meal with him at night, and he sat there at night, and I'm dying to ask him, but how do you? Well, obviously you've just shown me how you do it, but I wouldn't be that ham-fisted and sort of like just drop it in over. Is that your bread or is that my blue movie?
Can you pass for blue? For blue movie. Blue cheese.
So I thought, well, I'll never get to find out because it's not something you can actually just blurt out and say. You know, like Did you see that Granny Dwarf porn last night? No? Oh, okay. Thought I had your name and credits. No? Okay.
Screen printers go wild.
My wife and the squeegee. Oh, stop it. So... Stop it.
My head's going round now.
I know, yeah, stop it. Draw a line under it. So I'm actually having dinner, and sort of like, he starts to give me his story of how he started in a shop and he did this, and then he got another shop, and then he did this for his son, he did that. And then just casual as you like, well, I did used to do adult movies. And then he'd go like, but then the screen print shop, and the screen print shop, and the screen print shop, and screen print shop. I'm like, just, whoa, reverse a little bit. What do you mean? Oh, yeah, I don't talk about it much because I don't want the children really to know what I were into, but times were hard. I had no money, and this opportunity dropped on me to would I be interested in not performing but actually producing an adult entertainment program. And he says, well, the money was just stupid, so yeah, and it turned out to be really, really easy money. But then he moved away from it and tried to
start doing t-shirts.
Print t-shirts, yeah. You see the logical progression.
Makes sense. Yeah. From gang sheets to gang bags.
No. You see, you didn't even listen to a word I said.
No, I was just waiting
you were
for
all like that.
Did you know? Did you know?
I'm scared.
You don't, do you? You don't want to know.
Yeah.
You don't know what the very first screen print was, or the very first screen, actually, what it was made of.
Silk.
Nope. It was made of air, made of human air. And it was...
Air with a H?
Yeah. It was made with... or if you're from Hull, it was made with air.
Someone's human air.
Yeah, made with human air and...
Like a bubble of air.
Human hair. It was made with human hair, and this was in the Song Dynasty, China, and they made the stencils from cut up bits of leaf.
Awesome.
And then Japan.
I'm glad you
took
only
the
Googled
idea.
that bit of this podcast. That's the only bit you Googled.
This is my research for you.
Okay.
And then Japan run with that idea and developed it to start using silk.
Awesome.
There you go. Screen print fact
A
of the
little
day.
mine of information.
There you go. I'm sure that'll serve you all very well.
Okay.
Now, I saw something on fellow printers' Instagram, which was a little bit suspect and a little bit, why the hell are you doing that? And they had underbased black ink.
No, it's a no-no. It's a cardinal sin.
I can't think of any possible reason why.
Kicked out of the club. It happens a lot, more than you think.
It has to be a mistake, that. Either they're not as knowledgeable as we think, or they've just accidentally set it wrong.
No, it's basically, this is the design, I want a white underneath it. And so they just take the whole thing, copy it, don't put any gaps in, don't put any trap lines in, don't put any reverse gutters in, if you saw my post
I was
today.
just about to say, this plays really nicely into that. So, I guess it's the underbasing for idiots. Just turn the entire image black and put an outline.
Let's not forget, before computers and stuff, we'd just take the 4 films that made up the design, stick them all on top of each other and make that as a base.
Really? Oh, wow.
To make it smaller, we'd then put a piece of blank film in between the composite film that we made and the screen.
So it's further away.
So
God.
So the light creeps in and it burns it away and it chokes it back. So you'd
That's
have
crazy.
a choke sheet of just an empty piece of film. So
You just wouldn't think, would you?
what, I were that old? No.
And where did you find that out? China?
It's 6th century when they were making screens from it.
Yeah.
So,
So it's a big no-no.
it is a big no-no, but people think that, okay, this worked on a white shirt. So if I'm going to go on a black shirt, I just need to copy the whole design and print white underneath it. And a lot of people did that for a long time. And they just put the black last, and that's how it was.
I feel like that's a rookie process that everybody probably does. I'm sure, well, I think I worked that out pretty early, but I'm sure a lot of people will do that and then very quickly realise it's a bit unnecessary.
Yeah.
This is why I said underbasing for idiots. I didn't mean that in a nasty way. I just mean it's like the idiot's guide to underbasing.
Underbasing 101. Yeah. I see it on DTG prints as well, actually. There's a lot of people on DTG prints don't knock the underbase out from under the black. Knock me black out, I think it's called. I go one step further with underbases. I take out the underbase from navies, dark greens, dark reds, burgundies, because the ink does have enough power. If there's no white in the colour, you don't need it. It doesn't need to be white underneath it. And it makes for a much softer, smoother, more retail-looking print. And, then we could use dots as well. So if we've got a red that's not bright, it's like a burgundy or dark, but it would look too dark on its own, we'll put a 50% tone under there at like a 30 line count. Yeah. And that gives it that just enough brightness without it looking silly.
You can use 6 colours, but make it almost look like you've got 12.
Yeah.
By using underbasing and not underbasing to create 2 different shades of the same ink.
Yeah, and we go from that to sim process. It's like the middle step in the middle. This is how sim process became so good. Is we now don't use a green, but we've got some yellow and the blue in the design. And where we want it to go lighter, we'll increase the tonal value of the base underneath it. And where we want it to go darker, we'll decrease the tonal value of the base underneath it.
Yeah. So leading on from that, I noticed you was using a process. Now the word's gone out of my head. But basically, so your top colours, your underbase, basically outlined.
Yeah.
So you've got a gutter.
Yeah.
So when those
reverse trap or gutter.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
And what you're achieving there is basically you're getting nice crisp lines where 2 top colours but register each other.
Yeah.
Which is a more advanced separating technique, I guess.
Than just doing a big white copy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what you've got to think of is the base layer. So the layer that we put down first has this gap, this gutter, this trap. And then the 2 colours, let's say we make the trap. And the size of the trap is quite relative to who you are, what you like to see, what you don't like to see, what your press is like, whether it's a manual or an automatic, whether it's an old one or a new one. So brand spanking new MHM straight out the box, that gutter will be really small and hairline. Old M&R, Anatole, Taz, which is a little bit rickety and doesn't hold perfect register anymore, then we make it bigger to hide any mistakes. Plus, then we go into the screen room. If you've got fluorescent tubes, so I've still got a guy with fluorescent tubes up in Huddersfield I was, and the guy's like, do you want this? What is it? Exposure unit. You can have it for almost now if you want, or you can sell it if you want. I went, oh yeah, I'll probably sell that. Yeah, let me have a look. Oh, it's got tubes now.
No, thank you.
Not even LEDs, it's like a 12-minute exposure on fluorescent tubes.
Well, that's typically the starter exposure unit that I imagine
it is,
any startup shop would get.
And so then if I have a really, really fine reverse hairline, I'm not going to hold that on that unit.
Nah.
So I've got to make it bigger according to my pre-press, screen tension, actual press itself, and whether the customer wants to see a black line in between 2 colours. Some customers hate it.
Well, the idea is
the same guy that we were talking about earlier in America, he hates it. So he removes it from all his art. Even the choke around the outside.
I might put two and two together here.
So if he puts red, on top of a base white,
I remember this story.
They're both exactly the same film size.
He refused to accept it, didn't he?
So his printers have to put up with the shit. He hates to see that little shadow, that little double image around the outside.
I guess the skill and the technique is getting that gutter as fine as possible. So when those top colours sit, the kind of meet anyway. Do you know what I mean? You're not.
They sit. So
the ink almost falls in.
You don't print them at the same time.
No.
Okay, so you print colour one on top of your base white, which has a hole, a gutter in it.
Yeah.
What happens is the ink runs along and drops into the gutter.
This is what I'm saying, yeah.
And falls onto the
next
shirt.
Does the same.
And then the next colour does the same.
That.
So visually, when you look at it from the front, all you see is these two colours perfectly sitting on each other. Because they don't smudge and run under each other. Because it runs along and then it just falls off the cliff of the base white into the cotton garment and gets absorbed and soaked.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. So if you can a fine gutter, John does it for me.
All right.
I mean, if I were doing it,
it's a relatively easy process. And one of the comments on that post was, "You have to do a video showing us how to do this," and I think I will.
Yeah, good. Oh, actually, we could. There you go. I've got a video to come out, and maybe that's another video for
because it's done
Chippy
inside.
Tea channel.
I do it inside Illustrator, and then from inside Illustrator, then it would go through the screen, and we'd have to see it being reverse washed out and then set up. So I think it will be a little good video. The distances vary. So if we're working in point sizes in PTs, bad equipment and low quality light, that gap can be as big as a point.
Yeah.
Don't forget, this is a centralised stroke, so it's only half a point off each colour. The better the equipment, we can get down to 0.25 of a point. But again, it all depends on your darkroom equipment and your actual physical press stuff. So for a manual, I'd never go down to 0.25 because it would just drive you insane. Nothing would fit on press. You'd be double hitting this way and then double hitting this way. You revert to pushing the squeegee instead of pulling it. And we'd have to stop being
going both ways.
Both ways.
And then slightly pressing on one screen to the left just to get it. Every print you're having to use one arm to print and one arm to just push it.
Yeah, you definitely have to do it both ways.
Never done it. Oh dear. So anyway, I think we could really do with a chat with Mr. Emulsion Guru at Chromaline because
Kevin Calf,
yeah, because there was a question that I noticed that was floating around the chat, and somebody suggested that. So let's just say, in my example, my exposure time is typically 7 seconds on an LED starlight with SATI PHU 2. And I'm exposed in about 7 seconds. And somebody suggested that I assume they had the exact same setup because theirs was also 7 seconds. And they suggested that when they switched to 37 seconds, so they stuck a whole 30 seconds on, they overcame any issues with water base deteriorating the screen.
Yeah.
And the theory behind this is, so your emulsion, the initial exposure is critical, and no matter how long you post-expose, I don't know the science behind it, but if you don't get the first exposure right, it don't matter. Your post-exposure will only work to a certain extent. So in my head, I always understood that expose your screen to allow you to get the detail that you need and a clean washout, and then post-expose it to just make sure it's fully exposed and won't wash out.
Yeah, I think you're getting a couple of things. You're getting a couple of things mixed up there. This is around the whole idea of post-exposure. And it's Kevin that I spoke to and said, I'm doing this at post-exposure. And he said to me, why are you post-exposing?
Yeah, well, that is, I guess this is the
basis
of the question.
This is one side of it. So one side of it, I got asked the question by by the man who knows everything about emulsion, why are you post-exposing? And my answer was to harden, expose, cure any emulsion that hasn't had enough time.
Yeah.
And the simple reply he gave me, I couldn't answer. Okay, so then what do you wash off when you develop your screen? Any underdeveloped, uncured, unexposed emulsion. So therefore there's nothing left to post-expose. Now, I cannot argue with the logic of that. And I like the comment in the chat, I can't remember whether they referred to emulsions with diazo or emulsions without diazo. I think it was emulsions with. But my argument, his argument was sound, and I know absolutely nothing to counter it whatsoever. His logic was perfect. If there is any emulsion on there that hasn't been hit with enough light, it will get just washed away in the first wash.
Yeah, that makes total sense. But
I still post-expose my screens because it makes me
I
feel
do.
all warm inside.
No, but if I post-expose my screens because if I don't, I chuck Aquaflex in there and it'll eat away at it.
It'll eat it, yeah.
And not only will it eat away at it, all of a sudden your lovely white Aquaflex starts going pink. So
I've had that, yeah, where it eats the emulsion. Yeah,
I used to have a nightmare with discharge. Discharge used to do that a lot. I'd be discharging white, and all of a sudden, why the hell are these shirts coming out pink?
It's classic underexposure. As printers, we are frightened to death of overexposure. Do you know why? It's common human logic. If I overexpose something, that screen is ruined. There's nothing I can do to get the image out if I burn it out.
Yeah.
If I put so much light on it that I can no longer get my detail out, and the only thing I've got left is to turn the power on. As soon as I turn the power on, I blow the fucker off.
Yeah.
Then my screen is ruined because I gave it too much time. So human logic is, right, well, next time I'm not going to give it enough time. What's the danger here? The danger here is this emulsion might be a bit soft, but you will always get your image out.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it being soft. We can post-expose it.
Yeah, well, this is it. This is exactly what I do. This is exactly how my head works. I've set my exposure times to a comfy time that I feel like I can get maximum detail out of my film. Even halftones, etc. Real nice, fine halftone dots, I can get them out. And then in my head, I think, bump that up by another 30 seconds. There's no way I'm going to hold them dots. I guess I want to try it.
That extra 30 seconds, the way that you described it in the beginning was an extra 30 seconds on the first exposure. But
That's right.
Post-exposure is the second exposure when the image is actually being developed.
No, you're right. So the person who suggested this suggested basically up your exposure times. He did say 37. I don't know what his setup was, but he basically suggested that when he upped his exposure time from 7 to 37, any issues on press with water-based, gone.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he did a post-exposure, but I don't think he actually elaborated on that. But
the interesting thing I got from that thread was the sun exposure.
Yeah, that was
so. I used to expose in the sun. We used to leave our screens out in the sun for as long as we could. On the 3 days of sun that we get in the UK.
I'm going to say, what was that one day?
Because I presumed that was the best source of UV light you could possibly
imagine.
would,
wouldn't you?
And anything that's left unexposed on those screens is going to cure straight away. We've got to use the word cure because we're curing the emulsion.
Yeah.
And according to the guys in the chat that we were in, that harsh heat and exposure of UV light can actually make the emulsion brittle.
Yeah,
and
so
it actually breaks down through abrasion rather than chemical attack from the V2.
I think that's accurate. And
I've never considered that, so that's a new one for me.
Well, I had an issue probably a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, where I was post-exposing in the middle of summer, just chucking screens outside whilst I washed the rest, and by the time I were done, there should be more than overexposed, post-exposed, fully cured. And got them on press, started breaking down. Took one back inside run it through a post-expose on the Starlight, fine. So, I had this realisation, and I was like, this don't make sense. But sunlight wasn't strong enough. And I guess it's probably not that it isn't strong enough, it's more that
it's so intense it makes it brittle.
Or something.
Yeah, it's so intense it makes it brittle. Yeah.
Microwaves it.
Basically, microwaves instead of slow cooks it in slow cooker. Yeah.
Hey, we're learning today, aren't we?
It's like, it's at school with Danny and Tony, isn't it?
We've learned about cooking your screens, making blue movies as a good sideline. We've reinvented the pre-reg system. Producing, sorry. Oh dear. So, you're on your travels, Tony, lad. You're back on the road again. Back in UK.
Yeah.
Is there any shops coming up of interest?
Yeah, so my next week is going to be a challenge. This is a challenge that I very rarely do this. I very rarely throw numbers around. I offer to make improvements and changes and additions to processes. But for some reason, this shop that I'm going to next week made me stick my hand out and say, I can improve your production time by 40%, which is a bold claim. And now I'm thinking to myself, oh shit, did I really do that? But I know I can. But my problem is, on my visit, I told them loads of things. And if they do that now, I'll be really, really stretched to get to 40% from their improved version. So
that's your disclaimer then.
The shop I'm in it now. I tried to do a photo on Instagram, but I don't think it came out very well, unless you really zoom in on it. When I walked in, I'd only spent a day here as an assessment. But when I walked in, they were like, oh, Tony, show Tony that job. Show Tony that job. Show Tony that. And I thought it was, oh, God, they've got a shit job for me. No, please, no. They always have a shit job for me.
Yeah.
And they go and they're digging in the folders and they bring out this red and white Salford Manchester University job. And like, that's what we used to print. That's what we print since your visit. And it was like night and day.
Oh, was this the one with the opacity?
Yeah, well...
White and red?
Yeah, and if you zoom in on it, it's the clarity as well.
Right.
So it's not just the opacity, which is obvious in that photo.
Yeah.
But it's actually the crispness and clearness where two colours touch, again, white and red. This is introducing a trap line. This is introducing minimums. Minimums in screen printing on an auto is quite difficult to get into somebody's head that it will look brighter if you take off pressure and travel.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah, so you're not smashing it into the screen.
Let's see if I can do a share. I got jealous of you doing shares last week, so I'm going to share my screen. Window. Photos. Share. Oh, look at that. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah. There we go.
So you see the crispness and the opacity.
Yeah, you can see a big difference.
So it was really messy, and now it's really bright, really clean, and it made a huge difference to running the job because the job ran easily.
So, bottom the bottom, the bad example.
Yeah.
Did that red have an underbase?
Yes.
Did it?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it had an underbase, but everything was wrong. Squeegee selection was wrong. Mesh selection was wrong. Angle was wrong. Pressure was wrong. Speed was wrong. Everything was not to optimum, but it printed.
Right.
So it's this sort of like, yeah, you can make it print, but can you make it look nice? And we're just using the sort of the things that we learn. I'm into screen sharing now.
Well, you got another one for us.
I don't know that it works. I don't think you can get any clarity out of it or not. Could you see?
Yeah, the last one we did last week, perfect. And to be honest, in post edit, I put it on anyway, and like crop it in.
That's the That's the trap line.
Yeah, you can see it there, yeah. Yeah.
Check
Yeah.
it out. What
Makes
else are you
sense.
sharing? So, and so I took loads from this visit in that when I first walked in, I'm like, oh, Tony's showing that job. And they had 3 of those where they'd purposefully kept the old one.
What are you having for tea? That's what was texting me.
Yeah, that's an invitation for dinner, yeah.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, we're going to wind up quickly. I'll just reply to that, sorry. Otherwise I'm
You're right.
rude. Yeah, so it was good for me because I'd given them like a day's instruction on how to improve their quality, how to improve their process, how to make their life easier. Don't forget we've had a staff change as well. And the pride, I mean, chest-bursting pride of them coming up and showing me this job was just, I loved it. It really enforced why I do this job. You know, because they were struggling. They weren't happy with what they were printing. Life was difficult. And now all of a sudden they're so proud of what they produce. They come running and showing me like, look at this is great. And I got a lot of feedback from that. I quite enjoyed that.
And you've promised them another 40%?
No, that's next week.
All right, sorry.
I tell you why I've not gone there yet, and you might listen. But one of the reasons was the allocation of work. The allocation of work was backwards manual to auto. They used a rule to always put a job on an auto, which should have read always put a job on a manual if it's this. It was number of colours. So if the colours was high, they put it on a manual. If the colours was low, they put it on an auto. So if I can change that,
does it not depend on volume? Does it not depend of?
No, the volume didn't come into it. 1,000 pieces, 4 colour, put it on a manual. So the poor bastard's going to be looking like Popeye by the time he's done.
Poor bugger.
I think they had something like 8 days production on it. That's we can do that in 3 hours.
Oh well, that'll be easy to turn that out.
Which is why I made the bold. Which is why I made the bold claim, which I don't normally make. But we'll see. So next week's episode, we'll see whether I'm sat here crying or not.
Right then. So here's the most important question of the episode: what are you having for tea?
Low cooked pork belly with black pudding and creamy mushroom sauce.
Oh, gone downhill. I'll be honest. I don't like black pudding and I don't like mushrooms.
Okay. What are you having for your tea? Do you cook?
Oh, yeah,
Is it all your mum? Does your mum do everything?
No, I make stuff. I make my tea and stuff.
What? Chip shop on my own?
To be fair,
Fish
the most
chips,
cooking
mushy
I do
peas.
is at my birds. The most cooking I do is at my birds. I cook. We cook all the time here, but like when I'm at home, might as well, haven't I?
No point having a mum and cooking your son, is that what you're saying?
Well, I know, this is it. I went to the sandwich shop this morning and they had mushy pea and mushroom sausage rolls. I nearly threw up on the spot.
What's wrong with the world? What's wrong with the world?
Exactly.
Were they vegan?
Well, no, because next to it they had chorizo, chili, and pineapple. Or something like that.
They just don't belong. Don't belong together.
I don't know. All these bloody woke people with the mushy pea sausage rolls.
All right, calm down. Get back in your box, Boomer.
Right. If you're
let me just have a look.
Right, I thought you wanted to go for your tea.
I know, I'm going in 5 minutes. Yeah.
Don't you worry.
So, colour matching to a screen monitor. This got me.
Now then,
I've got a customer that colour matches to a screen monitor. And
I know a couple.
And the screen monitor is in his office. And if you stand at this angle, it's a different shade to this angle, and it's a different shade to this angle. And it is not calibrated, and it does not run a profile, and it's whatever it comes up as on there. If the customer gives him a Pantone number, he ignores the Pantone number and matches to the colour on his monitor.
There's 2 sides to that argument.
What do you think about that, then?
Well, there's 2 sides to that argument. So the Pantone book in itself, you can buy 3 Pantone books and they'll look slightly different. And that's a fact. Go try it.
No, it's not.
I'm having it.
It's not. Have you used the 2 brown squares at the back?
Well, there is. Yeah, but if you put them side by side.
Have you used the 2 brown squares at the back?
Yeah, because you told me what they were for.
So, yeah.
So anyway, considering this is a technical podcast, we should probably show them. I mean, probably no. So here's your 2 brown squares. Now, if you're looking at that and you're thinking, what are you about 2 brown squares, which is what I did when you first told me, I was like, Tony, I've only got one. Is mine wrong? But anyway, there actually is 2 different shades there. And if I'm not wrong, the trick to making sure your Pantones are accurate is you want to be in a light where this turns into 1?
Yes.
Or is it the other way around?
Yeah,
right.
So no, if you don't see 2 squares, you are under K 5000, I think, 5000 Kelvin temperature light. So
Yeah.
it's the sort of standard that they've been using to match their colours. So it's trying to get everybody to use the same light source. It's the same theory as the light boxes, which when we used to print for Marks and Spencer's, the bulb inside there was a TL84. The TL84 was the same bulb that was in all the Marks and Spencer stores across the world. So if you went into a Marks and Spencer store, it was always lit by a TL84 bulb.
Yeah.
So if you were colour matching, the idea was, well, what colour will it look like in the store? We don't care what it looks like outside or inside or at a customer's shop. It's what does it look like in a Marks and Spencer store? Well, every Marks and Spencer store will be lit with a TL84 bulb. So we colour matched to that.
Yeah.
Now it's a little bit different now.
Yeah. I think the argument, if you're talking about the same shop, I don't know, I don't think you are, but another shop who does this that I know of, their argument was something along the lines of, so what I've just said, Pantone books Pantone books might not fully match each other. Whether that's true or not, do you know what? I tried to say it's a thing, but I've never actually tried and tested it. But this is what
if you
they
get
apparently
2
heard.
books of the same age that have not been exposed to any sort of light, because it's light fastness usually.
Yeah, not aged.
So this is why you write the date on the back when you open it. You give it 12 to 18 months and you bin it, because the light that's been exposed to those pages has faded the colours.
Yeah, so there's that. But in a way, are you kind of not? Are we not answering his own question a little bit here by all these stipulations being under the right light source, making sure the Pantones are up to date books, and then your customer's got a 10-year-old Pantone book?
Yes, yeah.
It doesn't matter, does it?
No, everyone's got to have the same colour. That's the whole point of colour correction is everybody has to have the same reference point. If people have different reference points, we're screwed, which is monitored.
Which is highly probable. It is highly probable that your customers have not got an up-to-date book. They're not looking at it under the correct light source, etc., etc. So, and it's also probable that somebody has made some artwork on their screen. Oh, that's a colour I like. That RGB colour is what I want.
Yeah.
And then maybe they think, oh, well, we always sort of insist on Pantones. So they maybe then looked, oh, well, this Pantone matches or whatever.
Colour
but what they actually really wanted
like
was actually on the screen.
Yeah. Because
so maybe they've got an argument.
Yeah, a little bit. But no.
But then if they've got... But the only way they could have that argument would be if they had calibrated screens.
Yeah,
I would say with
calibrated screens that run a profile, and you introduce that profile to every monitor in the building, and then okay, away you go.
But then to ruin that argument, apparently, you can get 2 monitors exactly the same, calibrate it, and it still looks slightly different. Yeah. So there you go. So basically, what we're basically telling everybody to do is throw colour matching out at window and just forget about it.
Yeah. Go for dog pecker pink, prostitute red, Macy grey.
And here's another thing. As I found out, I had a situation a few months just before Christmas. You know, when it's really stressful. So it's really what I needed at the time. and I got a Pantone match, very accurate. And to this day, I'm still convinced it were right.
208.
And she just wasn't having it. And I only found
208.
It was 208, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. And it was like, oh no, it's actually more like in between 208 and 209. I was like, and I thought, does it really matter that much? But anyway, I reprinted them in the end. But it turned out she had a 6-year-old Pantone book.
Yeah.
So it probably just faded over time.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's tea time.
Gets enough.
So, with that, we will call the end to this episode, which has been good, I think.
Meeting adjourned.
Some of the titles have to avoid blue movies. No,
I won't make it obvious. I will not make it obvious that it is in this episode.
Granny Dwarf porn episode. No. So it is with pleasure we say ta-ra and Siddy from me, Tony P at Palm Print, and
Danny D from Flipper Sweet Print Co.
There we go.
All best.
So we'll see you.
All right, we'll see you next time. I'm off for some tea. A lot of hand gesture. Oh, goodbye.
Friday night, I'm within me rights. I want a Chippy Tea.